Hello, welcome to my crafty channel. This is Paula. I'm here to put together a little layout on some very special photos of my eldest daughter when she graduated. So I've got a couple of photos here. I've actually got 20 photos, which I'm going to have to spread over maybe 2 or 3 layouts. Here's a couple of the key ones. So I've got these lovely colours, very much outdoorsy. There's a bit of floral in them, nice blues, neutrals, and that bright splash of pink. And yeah, I've got to work with this. So I thought I would draw on the new mini catalogue from Stampin Up and see which range is going to work best for these photos. So I'm actually tossing up between 2 ranges. I have got at the front of this beautiful book, we have got some fast options, and one of them is our Memories and More cards. This time it's been released with a really stunning set. It's called Mixed Media Florals. Now what actually is great about this little set is that it's got a ton of different colours in it. It's got some black and whites as well. It's also got some really neutrals. It's got little themed wildflowers, you know, just ladybugs, lots of really cute things. Today was great, you know, some really nice little sayings. But alongside the Memories and More cards, we can go to our online only release, which means it's not in a catalogue, but it's still just being released. And we have got matching bits and pieces. So we've actually got a matching 12 by 12 scrapbooking set, which has got all those beautiful colours as well, and some more neutral back sides to these, which pulls in your blues, your greens, your peaches, black and whites, all that sort of thing. We've also got in it a really nice little series that goes beautifully in terms of embellishments. These are called the low profile dots. And we have got a lovely stamp set which has those beautiful wildflowers and some really lovely dies that match in. So those have got just a whole mix of colours, so it could go quite well. Placing this on top, I can kind of see that that feature paper might work quite nicely. We've got the blues and things, but we have got the splash of pink which appears in a lot of the photos, which might have a little bit of a clash, which is really the one part of the suite which is possibly not working so well for these photos. Now the other range that I'm looking at is in this book too, but it's one of the suite, and it's called let's just get to the front page, Floral Delight. So as you can see, this is very much your lovely bright yellows. It's actually a Daffodil Delight yellow colour shade in here. It's got a gorgeous little stamp set and die set, so it's got some nice little florals coming through with your dies. There is a beautiful little ribbon in there of that Daffodil Delight colour. We have got, just out of novelty factor really, but these gorgeous little, I don't even know if I can open them right now, gorgeous tiny weeny little bees that you can use as embellishments in amongst your little florals. And the paper has in it both standard DSP and a vellum option. So here's all your beautiful standards, lots of the yellow, lots of florals, but we've also got, you know, ginghams in here. We've got just nice neutral sort of patterns, lighter ones. This brown is lovely in there too, and a lovely green. And we have got vellum that ties in with the set, so that's a vellum sheet that's been decorated. So there's quite a bit going on in that one too. When I place my photos over here, I can see some good shades working in here. I've got, you know, the browns and the greens work with the outdoors. We've got a little bit of blue. It's a slightly different blue, but we also have those beautiful flowers that have got the whites and the yellows, which are tying in. So I'm thinking this might be the set that I start off with for this series of photos. Right, I've switched to my double Versamats here, just so I've got a series of space to add my 12 by 12. I'm thinking I wouldn't mind having a feature photo on the left hand side, given this is such a big occasion. It'd be nice to have one with us as well on there. This one was taken by the professional at the time of the ceremony, which is pretty special. And then this one sort of shows off her gown and her degree and the cute little bear I got made for her. So that's kind of a cool selection of photos, which maybe I'll do something a little bit like this on the 2 sides. So bringing in the patterned papers, I can see there is the nice neutrals that I could use as a base. So there is that brown one, there was the green, and I did notice some lighter ones. So there is something a little bit like this one I could pull in, which would look quite lovely as a backdrop without being overpowering. There's the plain yellow one up there. And let's just see, oh, there is this one too with the white with a diagonal. It's just got a little diagonal sort of dotty yellow stripe, but pretty generic there too. In fact, where's the other side of that? So we could be looking at something having the diagonals all going one way, like this. Or I could actually, if the diagonals are all going like this at the moment, but I could flip this around and have the diagonals doing a bit of that direction as well, just to kind of point it together. I actually quite like them all going in one direction. So that's how I'm going to get started, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so I've gone through the little range of papers, and I'm thinking I'm going to pull in all these shades. They're not going to bring in too much of that blue that's a little bit clashing, but they're reasonably subtle prints. These ones in particular are quite subtle, nice soft vellum, and that neutral of the brown. So what I have done is, off camera, I have just cut some strips. So I've got some strips here. When you've got a busy pattern like this, it's best to maybe keep the pattern a little bit less obvious and not too much of it. So if I place in maybe a few layers like the vellum and that patterned paper, and then break those two with a little bit of that neutral brown, textured brown piece, we're getting quite a nice soft addition. It gives us the hint of all those different patterns, but it's not overwhelming. So I'm thinking that could be a really great start to this. I've done the same, and we'll just maybe tuck one over this side here, pop this in, and have that kind of effect, excuse me, over there. I've also gone through and put a black matte onto all of my photos. I did look at bringing in the blue, the royal blue, which is the colour of her gown, but it just was a little bit too much of a brightness, so I've gone back to the black. But to make the black not seem too harsh against the rest, I've kept the black matte very thin. So that's the way that's going to help us to be able to pull in black but not overpower the layouts. Now, to do this layout as a feature, I need to start layering up some patterned paper. So on top of my black, I've pulled in just a yellow patterned matte, and then a slightly more decorative lighter coloured matte. To make those layers stand out, I could do a little bit of ink distressing around those, or a little bit of tearing. Yes, I'll have a little think about that as to where I want it to head. So that's giving us a really basic beginning to this layout, and that's how I start my layouts. I also know I'm going to have a title, so I've pulled out this particular set, which is the Alphabet a la Mode, and I've just done at this stage the word graduation. It's a lovely font to work with this more delicate range. I'm really enjoying the effect that this brings in to the page. On some pages it feels, you know, like you need something a bit bolder, but this one certainly doesn't. Am I spelling this correct? I hope I'm spelling it correct. I think we're on the right track. Graduation, you can kind of just see how that's a nice delicate effect. Obviously I can turn this into a lovely bigger word, maybe not. So that's where I'm at. So now I need to go through all my stash and have a little look-sees at what different embellishments I've got. Before I add the embellishments, I decided I would just add a few stickles along the sides just to add that touch of elegant gold sparkle. And I think that's really working well with our layers on the side here. What do you think? This is a product from Close to My Heart days, so it's just something that I had in my stash. So I wanted to pull in some themed types of embellishments. So I went back, and one of the ranges that's out at the moment in our annual book is this Pocket Thoughts. It's got the gorgeous little scroll, the graduation scroll, which I have stamped the royal blue in the centre. I've done a couple plain. It's also got the words "Yay for You," which could be a nice little addition to a cluster. So that's one of the first things I have pulled out. Now another one I went to was actually an older style one from Close to My Heart called Glad You're a Grad. It came out in 21, so it is a little bit older. Plus there's the For the Books, because I love that stack of books there, which I thought could work really well for graduation. So from there, at this stage, just for an idea, I have got Destined for Greatness, On to the Next Chapter. There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, which is kind of fun, and on to the next chapter as well, but with the stack of books. So I've got those as a starting point of things that I could place in to embellish this page with. Now I also went to a brand new set called Spring Corners. This one is quite delightful. It's got a series of dies here. I really liked that shape. I think for maybe even that Yay for You stamp that I just showed you, that could look really neat in the middle of that. We could have some sort of Yay for You sort of embellishment popping out, so I thought that was quite neat. But it's also, in the stamp, got these lovely corner pieces. So I stamped in, just to see what it would look like, wishing you an amazing day. I thought that actually works for a graduation day. And if I did stamp this, I could stamp it directly onto the background page, but I think that works quite neat, just sort of tucked around in that lovely font around her main photo. I really liked that. And of course, there's one of these kind of little ones on the side here, which is just going to be very fun for lots of purposes, but what we can do is maybe slide them under, and I could actually stamp one directly on the background there, maybe something here. I'll have to have a little think where I stamp it, but that's just going to give a little bit of extra interest, detail to the page, but it's still very fine lined. So that spring corner set is looking like it's going to be a really useful one for this kind of embellishing. Now the last thing I have done is I've spent a little bit of time with the set of the stamp and die cut that actually goes with the range of paper. So this one has got a double die cut set. So look at all those dies. There's flowers and words in there. And I've just spent a bit of time actually making some samples, because I often do this when it is a more intricate kind of stamp and die set. So in here you can see we've got the word wishing. So wishing comes as an outline, which is what I've cut out with this, the toffee shade. And then there's a really fine word, which is here, the wishing. And there's also a stamp. So I've stamped on this one, but I've just cut it out really fine there. So that's going to look really nice with this, this range if I want the word wishing. I think it's quite fun. In here you'll also see there's a really solid branch, so I've cut out a couple of those. There's also this label, and it's quite a nice decorative label, and I thought it could actually work for journaling. It would be really nice for writing in the little story. So I've cut out a bunch of those. Now in terms of stamping, there is a layered up stamp, and it's got 4 series to it. So I stamped it by stamping the branch first, then stamped the branch first, then the little leaves, and then I went over with the detailed effect with the darker orangey colour, and then I went over with the fill-in, which was the lighter shade, and it created this beautiful scene. There isn't a die that cuts that specific shape out, but there is a die that just cuts out the flowers. So I've also done a few stamps here and just cut out the flowers using that die, so we've got all these little bits and pieces to play with as well. So that is quite lovely. Now this one here is quite neat. This is actually a die in here that cuts out the negative. So what it's doing is just giving a little bit of a pattern. So this would look quite neat if I was to, perhaps, for example, in the strip, I could have cut out a little bit like that and just had another colour peeping through from the background. I probably wouldn't choose such a busy pattern to do this on though. It would look better on the more solid colours like this and have a colour popping through. But that is quite a fun little die in that range. Now the other dies we've got the stamp here that does a little flower, so I've stamped a few of those and then just die cut them out as well. There actually is a couple of leaves I've left. Oh no, here they are. There's a couple of leaves that you can stamp and leave those behind as well. So that's kind of using the stamp, but there's also in the die range there is all these other flowers that are 2-step dies. So you have the solid background and then you have the detailed piece that you place on top to give it a little bit more life. And that comes in multiple sizes. So we've got the large, medium, we've got a smaller one here, and an even tinsy one there. I didn't go to the really tiny one, but I did go to the smaller one, which you can see some examples of there. So there is a whole heap here now for me to play with to use as decorating. So I'll go away and set up some of these little branches with some flowers, and we'll see how we can finish off the layout. So here's what I ended up with. So we have got those lovely strips that we put down earlier, the little sparkle and shine of the stars, gold stars coming through. And then I have layered up sort of 3 bunches worth of flowers using the branches as my steady base, although you can't really see them in the end. I've also tucked a few around this lovely piece that I cut out. So that was the stamped image that I cut out using a circle. Had a bit of fun with that shape to have your graduation hat and your scroll in here. The yay for you got put into that little starburst, and isn't it great how it's all come together. So I have got a little spot here for public journaling, but throughout the rest of the pages, which I'm just about to show you, I'm going to be sliding the journaling in behind so that I can maximize the space for the photos. So that was page number 1. This is just some of the celebrations of the day when she got to walk down the main street, got to be with her friends, got to have a good time around the campus, having photos taken, dinner out, all those good things. But you can see from a design perspective, I've kept the same colors. I've actually pulled in that green in this side as well as the browns. I've had my little clusters of flowers around the place. That is a continual theme, and I've kept the title in black. So that's the second page, and then the third page came together beautifully too, just to finish it off. And these were photos taken at the beach, which is a really fun part of Dunedin. Pop those together a bit more so you can see it all, and so you can see the lovely strip of them through. I did bring in a little bit of wood grain paper just to add a little bit of an element of the outdoors in, and use the same fonts once again with the black. And this time I've said on to the next chapter, and I've pulled in the fun little book. I hadn't made that earlier, but the little book from the series, the bundle series that is for the books. It's a really lovely decorative book there, so I thought that was quite a nice way to sort of finish the whole series of the graduation photos. So I hope you loved seeing how those came together. This is my thought processes. This is the way that I approach my scrapbooking, and particularly when there's a whole series of photos to do. I hope you enjoyed it and you get to have a little crafting yourself too. Thanks for watching.